Hi, I want to do a quick little talk in my little area, my little cubby area, surrounded by books. And I know my eyes are... Oh, what is that? I just wanted to do a quick little talk, and I wanted to talk about safety. And... Oh my gosh, I'm not really good at these, just talking like this, you know? But I'm just gonna just keep on going. I have Asperger's syndrome. I like to dump my problems on people, so I'm just gonna say that. I have Asperger's, so it means I can be a little odd sometimes, like, especially when I'm talking to people and stuff like that. Like, oh, there's people. No, okay, in all seriousness. Because I have Asperger's, I have to be more aware than the average person. I have to, be really aware of my surroundings. If I'm walking around, I have to make sure that I'm aware of my surroundings, or I'm going to bump my elbow into something, there's a term called proprioception, and where neurotypical people, they seem to know where their body is in space a heck of a lot better than a typical person on the spectrum, which means that I don't know if a person can simulate it. Maybe I guess being drunk would probably be a way. I don't know. Where it's like, oh, I don't know, where did that wall come from? But that's kind of how it feels like sometimes. Banging your hand into something when you're reaching for something is because you're not quite, you missed the mark a little bit, okay? So you have to be careful. So it's move a bit slower. Don't just reach for something because you might end up smashing your fist into the wall accidentally, But another way we have to be mindful is being aware of our environment, and maybe more so than the average person. But if a person doesn't acknowledge the Asperger's, they might label you as being a little, maybe a bit too wary, maybe even a bit paranoid. Might come up, I've joked and said that maybe I'm a little paranoid. But what it comes down to is just being aware of your environment and watching and not being oblivious, or not, maybe not noticing the signs. So I was going for a walk. I was doing some volunteering. And as I was walking to the church to do my volunteering, a guy, I got a bad feeling. As soon as the guy started walking towards me, I was on the sidewalk and he was walking towards me, and I just got a bad feeling. I thought, no, this doesn't look right. I mean, maybe it was the way he kind of made a beeline for me, right? That might have been, maybe I just read the hint there. It's like, okay, he's walking a bit too quick, and he's walking with his head down, and he's walking right towards me, right? So I cross the street. He follows me across the street, and he starts asking me if I have any spare money, right? And I didn't want to get close enough to him. Like, I know, like, I have compassion for people, but this is a young guy that looked like he could take care of himself, and he was very aggressive in how he asked me, and so I just said, no, sorry, I just kept walking, right? And I said, no, I started walking across the street, and I started walking towards the church, okay? The guy was going one way, I was going the other, okay? So he was walking towards me, so I'm assuming he's walking, away from me. But when I kind of look back, all of a sudden I noticed he changed directions, and now he's walking behind me now. And I look over my shoulder, and there he would be, right? And on the other side of the street, but he's keeping pace with me. And I remember telling that to my therapist, and when I read it in the medical records, it said, oh, she thinks the man was following her. And this is the way it was phrased, as if, it was pathologized, in my opinion, instead of giving me credit where credit is due. I noticed something that was abnormal. There was somebody on their route, a paper man, a mailman on the route. And so I talked to him a little bit. I said, hi, how you doing? And the guy behind me, it's probably so bloody obvious, right? I'm like Inspector Clouseau, kind of like I'm always looking over my shoulder. Maybe the guy was freaking me out on purpose, right? Because I'm like, but I look over my shoulder. He stops. The guy stops. He's like, it's like a show you'd see on some stupid comedy, right? But it's real life. And it looks like he's going to turn, down this street. I go, okay. And so then I start talking to the mailman. What the hell? Yeah, the mailman. And then I kept walking. And I look over my shoulder again. And the guy didn't go down the side street. He's walking again, right, tracking me. That's what it felt like. And it really freaked me out. And so I was getting closer to the church. And I'm trying to walk faster and faster. Not in a full-out run yet. But, the thing is, don't be afraid to do that, right? Like, run if you have to, right? But anyway, there was a guy with his dog. And I approached the guy with his dog, and I like dogs, and I got a good feeling from the guy, and he had a good vibe, and I just said, I said, I don't mean to be rude, or how did I say, I don't want to impose, but I think you can walk me across the street. He's like, sure, and I said, I think there's just a guy following me, right? And I pointed out the guy, who was quickly approaching. He goes, oh, that guy. He goes, he harasses quite a few people in this neighborhood. I've seen him around, And so that was validating. And he mentioned that, yeah, if you look it up on Reddit, there's quite a few people who write about this guy. He's harassing people. And it was validating. He brought me to the church. I was so grateful. But I told this to my therapist. There was no mention of this other guy with a dog that validated my my experience. And instead she wrote, then she later said that it was in the newspaper. This man was in the newspaper or something. And so when I read my medical records, these were inaccuracies. So, I'm writing an annotation. But, I think it's important to encourage somebody to listen to their inner voice. Somebody like me that's, not exactly a spring chicken anymore, and to be aware of my environment, and I have Asperger's as well. And if somebody's putting me in danger, I shouldn't be shamed for taking it upon myself to be safe, taking it upon myself to cross the street, taking it upon myself to ask for help, taking it upon myself to talk to the mailman and to look over my shoulder. Maybe it was kind of obvious, but to be watchful. And I really didn't feel that I was being supported in that, in that setting. As if it was just reading those notes. It was almost like that she was saying that it was wrong of me to be watchful and cross the street. In a way, it was. She thinks she was followed. No, I don't think. I know. And I got this book. And I really like this book. It's called Street Smart Safety for Women: Your Guide to Defensive Living. No, sorry. Defensive living. Now, no, doesn't mean that you walk around, giving people headbutts, but being aware of your environment, right? And I'm going to be reading on it, and I'll give you some updates. Okay, take care.